So whenever you're sending in a sample to figure out what's going on in your garden, whether it's a pest or a plant disease problem, the quality of the sample as well as the background information provided really makes a big difference in getting an accurate and timely diagnosis. So one of the main things that we really like is if people can send in the entire plant. Really gives us an idea of what's going on. So I just dug up this poor looking coleus that we had, and one great thing to do is to dig up the entire root ball if possible and just put that root ball into a plastic bag. That way we'll contain a lot of the soil from getting on to the rest of the plant. Once we have the root ball contained, I prefer you that then put it into a second larger bag and we can close it up. One of the worst things to do when sending in a sample though is to allow extra moisture inside of the bag. If there is extra moisture in the bag, every other sort of fungal and bacterial pathogen will just start growing, and it can really obscure what we're looking at. So if you do notice some excess moisture, recommend that you just put in a piece of dry newspaper into the sample bag, and that way it'll help soak up most of the moisture. We get a lot of samples that come in with no label whatsoever. So just put some sort of label on the Ziploc bag. That way we know how it's identified. And finally, we ask that you put it into a sturdy container, preferably with some sort of packing material. Shredded newspaper works just fine for this. And we also have our Plant and Pest Diagnostic Clinic sample submission form. This form has most of the information that we would ask if we were trying to figure out what exactly is going on in your garden. While some of these questions you couldn't answer, we just ask that you fill it out as completely as possible, and once filled out, go ahead and just stick it into that same box with the rest of the sample, close up the box, and go ahead and mail it to the Plant and Pest Diagnostic Clinic here on East Campus, and we'll take a look at it. One of the worst things that can happen when submitting a sample is to submit and to send out dry leaves, dry or dead leaves. That's one of the reasons we ask that people use Ziploc bags or plastic bags, as in when people use paper bags, things tend to dry out quite a bit. And if we get some samples that are looking like this, it is next to impossible to figure out what the main issue was. If you're going to be sending in any insect issues, we also ask that you put them into secondary containers as well. If we're having some soft-bodied insects, recommend that you get a vial like this, put a little bit of rubbing alcohol in there, and then you can drop the specimen inside of that. If it's a hard-bodied insect, you could just put it into a small Tupperware container or something like that. So in conclusion, if you are going to mail these samples in, try to mail them Monday through Wednesday. If you drop them in the mail Thursday or Friday, good chance it'll be stuck in the mail truck over the weekend and it'll be a dried out mess by the time we get it on Monday.